The first couple phases of NFL free agency are pretty much in the books, but there are still some very notable household names left on the open markets. Let's run through the top 30 available NFL free agents. First up, Mr. Big Chest, Antonio Brown, immensely talented, immensely a problem as well. So be honest with me. Would you sign Antonio Brown? AB for yes, FAB for no. I can't give the benefit of the doubt to a guy who has burned bridges in New England, kind of, sort of. But certainly Pittsburgh, the Raiders, and, of course, the Buccaneers. That's not a good track record. Type in AB for yes, you'd sign him. FAB for no, you would not. DeShon Elliott, the safety. I like the talent. Injury red flags here. Keep him down further, and I think it's a big reason why the Ravens spent big money on Marcus Williams instead. Speaking of injury red flags, that's Will Fuller. An awesome vertical threat when he is healthy, when he is out there. He's not consistently out there is the problem for Will Fuller, but a cheap buy low 1-year deal, I'm intrigued. Arden Key checks in here at number 27. The edge rusher's taken quite a few visits. I don't think he'll remain unsigned for that much longer. A breakout year in San Francisco for Key, but teams want to see more than just 1 year. Sheldon Richardson, the aging defensive lineman, can still help a team, although he is not the best defensive tackle on this list, and I would much rather have Ndamukong Suh on my football team. As weird as this sounds, and at age almost, I think, 35, 36 now, Suh's still a really good football player. He can still start for you and be really good as a rotational starter-ish defensive lineman. Now, my suspicion is that Suh will only play for a contender. I would not anticipate him signing elsewhere with a bad football team because at his age, you want to win titles. You're not really just chasing the pure check. Maybe it's back in Tampa. Maybe it's a different contender after the NFL draft, but I do think Suh still has some left in the tank. His longevity is pretty damn insane. So we've got, a lot more names to get to. Who do you think is the best NFL free agent left? Make sure you watch all the way through so you can see who my number one is. But right now, I only head down to the comment section and let me know. Best NFL free agent left. This is the pinned comments on today's video. So if you're watching on YouTube and you get that ad break, scroll down there and let me know the best free agent left. Jerry Hughes, one of the remaining veteran edge rushers. He's not an elite impact player, but as a third or fourth edge rusher, there is still value for that type of older veteran rotational piece. Bryce Callahan also remains a free agent, to a bit of a surprise for me. I've always liked him. The Broncos added a different nickel corner, so Callahan's going to go elsewhere. Thought the Vikings could have interest, but then they signed Chandon Sullivan. A team might get a steal in Callahan and maybe even after the NFL draft. All right, Patrick Peterson is next up here as we get to the cornerback stage of today's video. Peterson is not the guy he was in his prime. Can he still be a low-end CB2 vet mentor starter for you? Absolutely. I think re-signing with Minnesota is a very real possibility for Pat Pete as well. Joe Haden, number 21. Again, there's a similar theme here, right? Older players. Typically, young guys don't make it until almost April on the open market. So I've got Haden at number 21. He can still be, maybe not a true CB1, but maybe a low end or at least a damn good CB2. So pick one of those three corners on my list. Who would you most like to sign for whatever team you're a fan of? BC for Bryce Callahan, PP for Patrick Peterson, or JH for Joe Haden? Drop a 2-letter response for me in the comments. Producer Jack's boy, Donta Hightower, next up here, who I still think can contribute. His coverage has begun to decline, and that is a fairly consistent trend with all of the linebackers left on this list. Coverage is king in the modern-day NFL, but Hightower can blitz. If I'm a team like the Patriots, the Dolphins, or any team looking for a early down, run-stopping, blitzing linebacker, Hightower should be high on my list. Jarvis Landry, number 19. Sometimes players just don't know what they're worth, and to be blunt, that's what Jarvis Landry's at. He is allegedly, per Pro Football Talk, asking for $20 million per year. That is obscene. It does not make any sense. There's no way that would remotely make any sense for any NFL team. I am asking for $1 million per year salary from Chat Sports. I ain't getting close to it, and neither is Jarvis Landry. It doesn't make sense for a team. Nobody wanted him at $15 million. I think people want him at $20. He would be lucky to get half of that. Now, NFL Daily, folks, is also on Rumble at rumble.com/NFL Daily. We are ahead for now of the Raiders report, but I am damn worried about the Raiders and Mitchell Renz catching us. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. If you want more free NFL videos on that uncensored video platform, follow us, rumble.com/NFL Daily. Some more vet edge rushers here. Justin Houston, I think he might wait till after the draft to sign, maybe even back in Baltimore, what they do in the draft, but veteran presence, not what he was at his peak, but still good, which is exactly what I would say about Akiem Hicks. Injuries, a bit more of a red flag for Hicks. His initial projection was like $8 million a year. He's not going to get that, maybe half of that. If you want a run-stopping defense, I mean, who can push the pocket a bit too, Hicks is a good name to keep an eye out for. Trey Flowers, next up here, once was one of the highest paid edges in all of the NFL, and then tanked the past 2 years, and I wonder if the Patriots just bring him back. Wouldn't that make a lot of sense for New England, given how much they love to bring back former players who signed elsewhere for big money, and they bring them back on the cheap? The best running back left on the open market is Melvin Gordon, who took a trip recently to New York. Was that Jets or Giants related? I don't know. Maybe it wasn't any team related. If you want a 1B or a low-end 1A like Gordon was last year in Denver, there's value there. Teams aren't going to pay big money for him, though, so he might have to take what he can get and just accept that is life in the modern-day NFL for a back. Duane Brown is old, but he's still a good football player. This is the offensive tackle formerly of the Seattle Seahawks. If you want a stopgap option for 1, maybe 2 years at left tackle, Brown makes sense. Then again, I thought Russell Okung was going to get signed, and he never did last year. So hopefully Brown does not go the same way. If you want nonstop coverage of everything going on around the NFL offseason, hit that big red button and subscribe today. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv if you're watching elsewhere. We got multiple times a day videos for you guys on everything going on around the NFL. Melvin Ingram, who I thought played pretty decently for the Kansas City Chiefs after the Steelers traded him away. Good job. That was smart by the Steelers to get a draft pick back because you weren't playing him. And KC invested in a nice piece. He will probably wait, much like Justin Houston. But as an edge 3, low-end edge 2, there is value there. If a team drafts David Ajabo and still needs edge help, I think Ingram would be a great pickup. Eric Fisher, number 12, the former Colts left tackle. Fisher is still a good football player. I think he wanted more than what the Colts were prepared to offer him. So he hit the open market, and it's not quite been what he wanted. I think there's a good chance he ends up back in Indy. How about Rob Gronkowski? Gronk, the tight end. This feels like two options, right? Either he goes back to Tampa or he retires. Because I can't see Gronk playing without Tom Brady at this stage in their NFL careers. I wonder this too. Maybe Gronk just doesn't want to go to OTAs and minicamp because, this is the same guy who publicly admitted to faking his workout videos he would send in by just doing the same drill multiple times a day and sending it in on different days. It's kind of funny. So maybe he just doesn't want to work out in the offseason, which I get. Worked wonders for Brett Favre at the end of his career, for example. All right, Kyle Van Noy next up here. Kind of a similar player, and I'll group these two together, to Anthony Barr. Now, Van Noy has blitzed more than Anthony Barr has, who's number 9 on our list in recent years. That's kind of been his role. But I think Barr can blitz too. Both of them, though, household names to an extent. Van Noy got the bag a couple years ago. They're not as good in coverage as they once were. So I like Anthony Barr more. I wonder if a team could get a nice buy low option for them later on in free agency as the money really does begin to dry up. Calais Campbell, the defensive lineman here at number 8 for the Baltimore Ravens. I think he's still good. He's not what he was at his peak, but if you want a run-stopping defensive tackle who can still give you some, pressure ability, and you want a veteran mindset, I think Campbell's really good in that particular role. Who do you think, then, is the most overrated NFL free agent left? Is it maybe a guy we haven't gotten to yet? Someone we already mentioned. Drop a name for me in the comment section. The most overrated NFL free agent left. Number 7, J.C. Tretter, the center and the best offensive lineman left on this board. I was surprised that the Browns cut Tretter, given his level of play, which has been really friggin' good in his NFL career. And I just wonder, could it be that Tretter, as the NFL PA head for the players, is maybe that's an issue for NFL teams? Because the NFL PA has caused them problems this past year. That's not that is collusion, make no mistake, but I just wonder if maybe that's what's going on here, because there are plenty of teams that should go sign Tretter from an on-field standpoint. Julio Jones, number 6. Man, I don't think he was the best player last year. I think the regression kind of started to set in. He's been baddish the past 2 years, but he could still return to Julio Jones form. We saw Randy Moss do that, and I'm okay mentioning Julio Jones and Randy in the same conversation because they're both premier players, so maybe he bounces back. I'd be cautious on Julio Jones. Odell Beckham is number 5. Speaking of players who rehabbed their stock last year, Beckham did that before he unfortunately tore his ACL. The medical is a red flag for teams. That's a big reason why he's unsigned. If he wants to leave the Rams, teams are going to ask him to wait. And sometimes after an injury, you never quite get right. Remember Eric Berry? I do. I hope OBJ does, of course, return to form. Time for one of our favorite questions here at Chat Sports. Would you sign Odell Beckham? OBJ for yes or no BJ for no? Sound off in the comments section. Jadeveon Clowney, the former Browns edge rusher, is in a unique spot of, well, not unique to him. He'll probably wait because that's what Clowney always seems to do. He sits around out there and wants to wait and sign and ends up costing himself money. I would not be surprised if the Browns bring him back. That would fill a big-time need for them. I am surprised to see these next 3 names still available as we get to almost April. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. I think he's awesome still. Is he like totally peak Tyrann Mathieu? No, but I think he's like 90%. And 90% of the Honey Badger is better than most NFL safeties. So I am surprised that he remains unsigned. Maybe he wants more money than he's going to get, but even at his age, I kind of think someone should pay it. But remember, NFL's ageist. They don't like paying older guys. Bobby Wagner, operating as his own agent, mind you, linked to the Rams, the Ravens, and kind of sort of the Cowboys. Per Peter King, Wagner's looking for a 1-year deal worth $11 million thereabouts. It's a bit on the high side, but I think that's a good asking price for Wagner, who is not what he was at his prime. Common refrain today, I know, but it's the truth, and can still contribute as an NFL player. So would you pay Bobby Wagner $11 million per year? Let me know. Y for yes or N for no. Number 1, Stephon Gilmore. He has begun to decline. 2021 wasn't as good as 2020, which wasn't as good as 2019. But he's still a number 1 corner, and there are plenty of teams out there who need corner help. So this is a pretty good top 5 free agents left to have just on the eve of April and less than a month before the NFL draft.